So in this lesson, we're going to start rigging some of the inner mouth components of our character. We're going to start by rigging this tongue in a forward kinematic fashion. We'll rig it again in the next lesson using a different method. We're going to start with an FK tongue. What we're going to do is pretty straightforward, as we're going to draw a series of joints down the length of the tongue so that an animator can curl either up or down. We're also going to add a series of joints at each edge loop that emanate out to the sides so that you can curl the tongue up in what we call the tongue taco. Okay, so I'm going to switch to a side view and just start drawing some guides by creating clusters which average the position here. So we'll be able to draw joints directly down the center. And then we're going to create another set of clusters, or rather from here we're going to simply, holding down the shift key, draw out to the side so that we'll have our joints that emanate out to the side. Okay, so back to creating these clusters, which are just visual guides. So with those 4 vertices selected, to form create cluster, I'm going to switch to displaying vertices in the component mode. We can go a little faster here. Actually, I'm going to skip that one. To form create cluster. Now I'm using the G key to repeat that last used tool. I'm going at a fairly high resolution for these tongue joints, since there's going to be quite a bit of movement that we're going to want with this. Okay, so now we have all of our clusters. You can see, let's turn off our geometry here. They're running down the center of this tongue. Okay, so switching back to the side view, I'm going to start drawing our joints using these clusters as snapping points. So I'm going to enable the point snap, snap to points, and then select skeleton, joint tool, and just start drawing these tongue joints. Clicking once on each cluster and snapping to that. Okay, let's select all of our tongue joints here and change their radius. Okay, it's a little better. Okay, so now with these tongue joints selected, I'm going to do 2 things. First, display their local rotation axes to see if we need to make any adjustments. So display, component display, local rotation axes. So I'm going to want to rotate all of these 90 degrees on X so that their Y-axis is pointing out toward the left side, which is a convention I've kept with this character throughout. But first I'm going to orient the last joint so that it matches the orientation of its parent. Just a habit. Do that by selecting Skeleton, Orient Joint tool. It should still be set on None, which I've been using throughout the tutorials here. So there we see it snap to match its parent. I'm going to switch to component mode and enable the question mark icon, which is local rotation axes selection. Just go about selecting all of these local rotation axes, shift selecting them. Once again, it's always important to have a consistent orientation with your joints. So now in the command line, I'm going to type in rotate -R 90 0 0. So we're going to rotate all these local rotation axes 90 degrees on X, which points them to the left side of the character. I'm going to select all these clusters and delete them. No longer need those. Okay, so now let's do a quick renaming. Modify, search and replace names. We're going to search for every instance of cave and replace it with, or joint, and replace it with cave C, tongue. Okay, I'll take the time to go in and manually add these J and T's suffixes. Although this is only an FK tongue joint, you'll see that it's quite flexible. It'll give a lot of movement to this simple tongue here, especially when we add the side pointing joints. Then we're going to do something a little extra to help with the deformations. Okay, so this last one we're going to call it end. Okay, there we go. Okay, select this, and I'm going to turn off the vertex display on the tongue. So now what we're going to do is, for each joint, we're going to create another joint pointing out to the left as well as the right. Okay, holding down V for point snap, and then shift, switch to a top view here, and then shift, we'll just drag out straight to the side. There we have our first joint pointing out to the side. We're going to repeat that for each of these major joints here. So point snap the first joint, hold down shift to drag it out in a straight line. Oh. Okay, let's try this again. Okay, there we go. Okay, just a couple more. Okay, and that will do it. Just changing their radius. Okay, so now that we have all this, I'm going to rename these joints. Since we're going to mirror them, I'm going to take the time to quickly rename them. We're going to search for every instance of joint, and this will be L tongue. So now I'm going to select them and mirror each one across the YZ axis, searching for the left side designation and replacing it with right. I'm just hitting the G key to reactivate the last tool that I used, in this case the mirror joint options. Okay, so I'm going to quickly parent each of these to a corresponding joint. Just to demonstrate something. Now this is not going to be our final tongue rig, but I just want to demonstrate why we're going to build the next type of rigging for this tongue. Okay. So I'll just curl this tongue, grab the some of these joints. Okay, curls fine, up and down. When we go side to side, and this is fine too. When we go side to side, what I would like to do is to, for instance, if this is 90 degrees, I would like to average this rotation so that these two side joints, the left and right joints, are at a 45-degree angle. So that way you'd get a nice curved deformation. So I'm going to do that by using multiply divide nodes to negate half the rotation of the main joints. So I'm going to unparent these. Okay. So first I'm going to select this tongue too and duplicate it. So edit, duplicate. And this will serve as what I call the averaging joints. So I'm going to select all these. I can delete the end here. And I'll modify search and replace names and search for underscore JNT and replace it with underscore AVG for average. Okay, so now I'm going to unparent each of these. Then parent the left and right joints to each of the corresponding averaging joints. Okay, so now we have each left and right joint, the child of one of these averaging joints. So I'm going to open up the script editor. Let's clear this out. So I'm going to create a multiply and divide node and then connect the rotation values of the main tongue joint into the multiply divide node. Negate the rotations by negative 0.5 and then connect that output into each averaging joint. So first I'm going to create a multiply divide node. And since I'm going to repeat this for each of these averaging joints, I'm going to capture the connections that I'm making so that I can simply change the names and numbering and repeat this. And once again, this is something that you could would benefit from scripting as well, since it's a repetitive, somewhat